Bonnie's departure from Mystic Falls was shrouded in a veil of sorrow and mystery. To her friends and family, it seemed she was off on a journey of self-discovery, trying to escape the haunting memories of Enzo. The reality was far more complex. Bonnie's quest was one of profound love and desperation, driven by an unwavering determination to find a way to bring Enzo back from the dead. The story began in Paris, where Bonnie had arrived with a heavy heart. The City of Lights, with its romantic allure, did little to lift the veil of grief that enveloped her. Her days were spent wandering through old bookstores, seeking ancient manuscripts, and consulting with occult experts. Her nights were filled with dreams of Enzo, each one a painful reminder of the life she wished she could reclaim. One crisp evening, as the golden light of the setting sun bathed the city, Bonnie visited the catacombs of Paris. The labyrinthine tunnels, lined with bones and skulls, held an eerie sense of history and darkness. It was here that she hoped to find a clue, a forgotten ritual, or lost text that might offer a path to reversing death. As she navigated the dimly lit passageways, Bonnie discovered a hidden chamber. Inside, she found a small altar adorned with candles and an old book bound in dark leather. The book was filled with esoteric symbols and ancient spells, some of which hinted at the possibility of bridging the gap between life and death. Bonnie's fingers trembled as she turned the pages, her eyes scanning the cryptic text. Among the pages, she found a reference to a powerful artifact, a chalice, that was said to possess the ability to communicate with the other side. The text described a ritual that required the chalice and a series of rare components, including a magical herb and a vial of blood from a being who had touched both life and death. Determined, Bonnie set off to find these components. Her journey led her to Rome, where she sought the magical herb mentioned in the ancient texts. Rome's sprawling markets and hidden alleyways offered their own challenges. Bonnie met with a reclusive herbalist who, after a series of tests and negotiations, agreed to provide the herb. The herbalist warned her that the quest ahead would not be easy and that the ritual could have unforeseen consequences. With the herb secured, Bonnie traveled to Athens, where she sought out a historian who specialized in ancient Greek magic. The historian provided her with valuable insights into the ritual and the chalice's significance. He spoke of an ancient temple, where the chalice was rumored to be hidden, but the path to it was fraught with danger. The journey to the ancient temple took Bonnie to the remote mountains of Turkey. The temple, long abandoned and forgotten, was located deep within a dense forest. The trek was arduous, with Bonnie navigating treacherous terrain and dealing with the isolation that came with the journey. Upon reaching the temple, Bonnie found it guarded by a series of magical wards and traps designed to protect the chalice from intruders. The wards were a complex array of symbols and enchantments that required a deep understanding of ancient magic to decipher. Bonnie spent hours studying the wards, using her own magical abilities to slowly dismantle them. Inside the temple, Bonnie discovered a series of trials that tested her resolve and magical prowess. The first trial was a test of courage, a dark, twisting maze filled with illusions designed to prey on her deepest fears. Bonnie had to confront the haunting visions of Enzo's death and her own sense of inadequacy. It was a painful but necessary part of the journey, pushing her to overcome her fears and doubts. The second trial required Bonnie to solve intricate puzzles that tested her knowledge of ancient magic. The puzzles were designed to challenge her intellect and patience. Each solved puzzle revealed a piece of the path to the chalice. Bonnie's understanding of magic and her determination proved to be invaluable in overcoming these challenges. After days of trials and tribulations, Bonnie finally reached the inner sanctum of the temple. There, she found the chalice, a magnificent artifact, its surface engraved with intricate runes and glowing with an otherworldly light. The chalice was displayed on a pedestal surrounded by ancient relics and magical symbols. Bonnie approached the chalice with reverence, her heart pounding with anticipation. She knew that obtaining the chalice was only the beginning. The next step was to perform the ritual, which required the chalice, the magical herb, and the vial of blood. The ritual was complex and dangerous, requiring precise timing and a deep understanding of the magical forces involved. Bonnie meticulously prepared for the ritual, gathering the components and setting up the ceremonial space. She could feel the weight of her task bearing down on her, but her love for Enzo gave her the strength to press on. Back in Istanbul, Bonnie began the final preparations for the ritual. She had set up a secluded sacred space in an ancient crypt beneath the city. The crypt was a place where the veil between the living and the dead was thin, making it an ideal location for the ritual. Bonnie laid out the chalice, the magical herb, and the vial of blood on an altar. She carefully followed the instructions from the ancient texts, combining the components in precise ways and reciting the incantations with a steady voice. The ritual required her to channel her own magical energy, as well as the power of the chalice, to bridge the gap between life and death. As Bonnie performed the ritual, the air around her began to shimmer with a strange, ethereal light. The ground trembled slightly, and the energy in the crypt became charged with a palpable intensity. The chalice glowed brightly, and Bonnie felt a deep connection to the magic she was invoking. The final step of the ritual required a profound sacrifice. Bonnie had to pour a part of her own essence into the chalice. This act symbolized her willingness to let go of her pain and embrace the hope of bringing Enzo back. The process was emotionally draining, but Bonnie pressed on, driven by her love for Enzo and her determination to see the ritual through. The moment the ritual was complete, the chalice's glow intensified, and a blinding light filled the crypt. Bonnie felt a surge of energy, as if the boundaries between life and death were momentarily dissolving. The light gradually subsided, leaving Bonnie in the dimly lit crypt, her heart racing with hope and anxiety. The days following the ritual were filled with anticipation and uncertainty. Bonnie returned to Mystic Falls, carrying the chalice with her. The town had remained largely unchanged, a quiet reminder of the life she and Enzo had shared. She prepared to perform the final part of the ritual, which would bring Enzo back to the living world. The ritual required a place of profound significance, a location where the connection between worlds was particularly strong. Bonnie chose the Salvatore family crypt, a place that held deep memories for both her and Enzo. She set up the ritual space with care, arranging the chalice and performing the final incantations. As the ritual commenced, the air around them seemed to crackle with energy. Bonnie's heart was in her throat as she completed the spell, hoping against hope that it would work. The crypt was filled with a blinding light, and a figure began to materialize before her. It was Enzo. He appeared as if emerging from a dream, looking both bewildered and relieved. Bonnie's breath caught in her throat as she saw him, her eyes filling with tears of joy and disbelief. "Enzo," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Enzo looked around, his eyes locking onto Bonnie with a mix of confusion and awe. "Bonnie? How is this possible?" Bonnie rushed to him, her tears flowing freely as she embraced him. "I found a way. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you forever." Enzo held her tightly, his emotions overwhelming him. "I missed you so much. I never thought I'd see you again." They held each other for what felt like an eternity, savoring the reunion that Bonnie had fought so hard to achieve. After their embrace, they took the time to reconnect and talk about everything that had happened since Enzo's death. Bonnie shared her journey, the trials she had faced, and the sacrifices she had made to bring him back. Enzo listened intently, his heart full of gratitude and love. "You've done so much for me. I don't know how to thank you." Bonnie shook her head, her eyes shining with love. "You don't need to thank me. I did it because I love you." The return to normalcy was not without its challenges. Bonnie and Enzo had to navigate the complexities of reintegrating into their old lives, and explaining Enzo's resurrection to their friends and family. The revelation was met with a mixture of astonishment and joy, and the town welcomed Enzo back with open arms. Bonnie and Enzo took time to rebuild their relationship, strengthening their bond and adjusting to their new reality. They faced the challenges of rejoining the world together, supporting each other through the changes and uncertainties. One evening, as they walked hand in hand through the familiar streets of Mystic Falls, Bonnie looked at Enzo with a sense of peace and contentment. "I can't believe we're here," she said softly. "It feels like a dream." Enzo squeezed her hand. "It's real, and we have a future together. We've been through so much, but we made it." Bonnie smiled, her heart full of love and hope. "Yes, we did, and we'll face whatever comes next together." Their journey had been long and filled with trials, but their love had triumphed. Bonnie had found a way to bring Enzo back, and in doing so, she had reclaimed not only her love, but also her own sense of purpose and hope. As they stood together, watching the sunset over Mystic Falls, they knew that their story was far from over. They had a new beginning, a chance to build a life together and face whatever challenges the future held. The end.